Have you ever heard of the 3 days of darkness? This idea has been circulating and has left many people intrigued. And, let's be honest, even scared. But the question remains, is there any basis to all this? And more, does the Bible really endorse something so grand and apocalyptic? The answer is not as simple as it seems, and that's exactly why we're here. Get ready to dive deep, because we're going to unravel the mysteries behind this prophecy that went viral on the internet. The thing is, when something stirs people's fear and curiosity, the tendency is to believe it without questioning it. After all, what if it's true? Right? But behind this narrative, there are nuances, analyses, and even contradictions that need to be explored. More than just believing or disbelieving, the key is to understand. Because if there's one thing this topic does, it's challenge us to think about how we view faith, science, and discernment. And you know what? This is an invitation for you. Let's analyze each detail of this story with a more critical eye, and, who knows, discover what it really means for your life. Are you ready to go beyond the headlines and explore what's behind this prophecy? Then stay with me, because what follows will open your mind in a surprising way. Have you ever heard of the 3 days of darkness? This idea has been circulating and has left many people intrigued. And, let's be honest, even scared. But the question remains, is there any basis for all this? And more, does the Bible really endorse something so grand and apocalyptic? The answer is not as simple as it seems, and that's exactly why we're here. Get ready to dive deep, because we're going to unravel the mysteries behind this prophecy that went viral on the internet. The point is that when something stirs people's fear and curiosity, the tendency is to believe it without question. After all, what if it's true? Right? But behind this narrative, there are nuances, analyses, and even contradictions that need to be explored. More than just believing or disbelieving, the key is understanding. Because if there's one thing this topic does, it's challenge us to think about how we view faith, science, and discernment. And you know what? This is an invitation for you. Let's take a more critical look at every detail of this story, and perhaps discover what it really means for your life. Are you ready to go beyond the headlines and explore what's behind this prophecy? Then stay with me, because what follows will open your mind in surprising ways. What transforms an ordinary story into something deeply spiritual? For many, it's the words of faith and mystery that are conveyed. In the video, the woman doesn't just describe the 3 days of darkness as a physical event. She claims that Jesus revealed a global purification, where the dead will be resurrected and the faithful will rule for 1,000 years alongside God. Just hearing this makes one wonder, would I be prepared for something so grand? It's not just a message, but an invitation to compensate for what it means to live with purpose. The idea of the rapture is so powerful that it transcends cultures and eras. Who hasn't heard stories about the end of times and the time of separation? It's a message that resonates deeply because it speaks of the unknown, and more importantly, that which is beyond human control. This notion that only the prepared will be taken makes the mind travel. It is like a train that leaves without warning, leaving behind those who did not pay attention to the signs. But what does being prepared mean? Many can be interpreted in different ways. For some, it may mean seeking closer proximity to God. For others, reorganizing their priorities and focusing on what really matters. In the end, this message carries something universal. The call to live according to high principles and, who knows, be ready for the unexpected. And is that just the beginning? Because the revelations do not stop there. They continue in the details of the event that is to come. When the details of a prophecy emerge, they have the power to capture the imagination in an overwhelming way. The woman in the video explains that the 3 days of darkness would be caused by the approach of the enigmatic planet Nibiru, also known as Planet X. So far, it sounds like a science fiction script. But the most intriguing thing is that, according to her, God would ensure that the temperature would not fall below 12 degrees Celsius, preserving lives even in the absence of sunlight. Let's face it, this is a detail that combines science and faith in a peculiar way. And, of course, practical guidelines are not left out. The prophecy suggests the use of anointed, unscented candles and lamps with organic oil to light up the dark days. In addition, the woman advises everyone to stock up on food, medicine, and blankets. It seems like apocalyptic preparation, but it is not so different from what we do when faced with weather warnings or global crises. It is that idea of, it doesn't hurt to be prepared. Who has never thought about putting together an emergency kit, even without believing in prophecies? However, what draws the most attention is the scenario described. Tsunamis, earthquakes, demons appearing. It is as if the pages of the darkest fiction become lifeless. This narrative is not just a warning. It is an invitation to reflect on how we would react when faced with something completely out of the ordinary. And furthermore, how would we interpret such events? But to understand this, it is necessary to delve into the field of spiritual interpretation and, of course, into the analysis of a greater source of the Bible. Whenever a prophecy appears, it is natural to ask, does this align with what the Bible teaches? This was exactly the point raised by the pastor in the video. He explains that, although God can reveal messages in different ways, every prophecy must be in accordance with the Word of God. It is not enough to be impactful or well-intentioned. If it lacks biblical coherence, the foundation is lost. It is like building a house on sand. No matter how beautiful it is, it will not stand. An interesting point raised was about the accuracy of data. The Bible already contains everything we need to know. But what about when the prophecy tries to touch on scientific issues? Then the analysis becomes even more intriguing. When it comes to science, some prophecies simply do not stand up to the test of logic. In the case of the planet Nibiru, the pastor resorted to scientific arguments to demonstrate the improbability of this prediction. He explained that, in order to cover the sun for 3 days, this celestial body would have to be gigantic, thousands of times larger than the Earth. And the gravitational impact of something like that would be devastating, destroying our planet in a matter of seconds. It is not just science. It is common sense. Let's think about the moon, for example. Even though it is 50 times smaller than Earth and almost 400,000 kilometers away, it already exerts an enormous influence on us, controlling tides and even tectonic movements. Imagine, then, a huge planet approaching. We are not talking about small changes in the climate. It would be the total collapse of the Earth system. It is like trying to park an elephant in a china shop. The result is predictable. This type of analysis teaches us something important: the importance of looking at the evidence before believing any prediction. It is not about discarding faith, but balancing it with knowledge. Science, after all, is not the enemy of spirituality. On the contrary, it can help us distinguish between the possible and the fantastical. But what about when prophecies appeal to the heart instead of the mind? That is when spiritual discernment becomes essential. So what are you going to do with all this knowledge? Close your eyes and ignore it? Or use it as an opportunity to reflect on the choices you are making in life? Understanding the details of this prophecy is not just about knowing whether it is true or false, but about how you react to the unknown. Are you prepared for the challenges that may arise? Or are you waiting for the statistics to catch you by surprise? The question is simple but powerful. What would you do if you knew that major changes were on the way? Maybe it is time to review your priorities, seek more discernment, and even strengthen your spiritual connection. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Read more, ask questions, talk to people who can shed light on the issues that challenge you. Because at the end of the day, that is what matters. Being attentive, vigilant, and ready for any situation. And if you want to continue exploring topics like this, don't miss the chance to be part of our community. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who also needs to hear this message. After all, good knowledge is the one that we spread. Let's go together on this journey of learning and transformation.